On December 7, 1941, the United States lost more than just its Pacific Fleet. For over a century, the country had operated under the assumption that the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans were impassable moats. Pearl Harbor proved that oceanic invulnerability was a relic of the past. By early 1942, that security was replaced by a localized dread. In cities like Oakland and Seattle, blackouts were enforced and sirens blared as rumors spread of Japanese carriers lurking off the coast. Residents were told that the same oceans that once protected them were now highways for a mainland invasion. This pressure placed the public consciousness under extreme stress. As the military moved into movie lots and merchant ships were picked off by submarines just miles from the shore, the threat of a coastal landing was no longer a theory. It was a daily expectation. This environment left the nation reacting in two contradictory ways. On the West Coast, the military would stage a massive defense against threats that didn't exist, while on the Gulf Coast, they would struggle to hide the reality of a massacre that did. The tension reached a breaking point on February 23rd, when a Japanese submarine surfaced near Santa Barbara and shelled the Elwood oil field. The attack caused minimal property damage, but it convinced West Coast residents that an invasion force could storm their beaches at any moment. The very next night in Los Angeles, a single lost weather balloon was sent aloft at 1 a.m. To a military on high alert, the small object was misinterpreted as the lead craft of an incoming enemy fleet, triggering a full-scale combat response. The response was massive, a total citywide blackout, thousands of wardens mobilized, and over 1,400 anti-aircraft shells fired blindly into the night sky. For nearly an hour, batteries targeted imaginary swarms of planes that never actually appeared. The raid produced zero enemy wreckage, but it did have a human cost. 5 civilians died during the chaos, 3 in car crashes during the blackout, and 2 from heart attacks. In the embarrassing aftermath, Secretary of the Navy Frank Knox held a press conference to manage the fallout. He dismissed the entire incident as a false alarm caused by anxiety and war nerves, but many chose to believe a cover-up was hiding a real battle. Decades later, a retouched photo from the raid would be presented by ufologists as proof of an extraterrestrial craft. The public found it easier to believe in visitors from another world than to accept the reality of their own collective hysteria. While California was firing at clouds, a very real predator was slicing through the Gulf of Mexico in May 1942. The German military expanded Operation Drumbeat, sending Nazi U-boats directly into American waters to hunt Allied merchant ships. The scale of the campaign was staggering. In a little over a year, U-boats sank 56 Allied ships in the Gulf and damaged another 14. Over 600 lives were lost in what was, for a time, the most dangerous body of water in the world. The losses hit the war effort directly. When the SS Pennsylvania Sun was torpedoed off Key West, it lost 107,000 barrels of Navy fuel oil. Other tankers carrying aviation gas and lubricating oil burned for days, visible from the very shores the public thought were being guarded. It was a tragic irony. The West Coast had spent a night in total panic over a weather balloon, while the real war was being lost in the Gulf, largely out of the public eye. The U-boats succeeded because the Gulf Coast was completely unprepared. Unlike the blackouts in California, cities along the Gulf kept their lighthouse beacons and coastal lights burning as if the country were still at peace. These bright coastal lights perfectly silhouetted the passing merchant ships against the night sky. Nazi commanders didn't even need advanced sonar. They simply sat in the darkness and fired at the dark shapes gliding in front of the city glow, making them effortless targets. To prevent widespread panic, the U.S. Office of Censorship stepped in. They restricted press coverage of the sinkings, ensuring that the public never saw the fireballs or heard the accounts of survivors being brought ashore. The government calculated that the damage to public morale from another Battle of Los Angeles was a greater risk than the ships themselves. They decided it was safer to keep the public in the dark than to admit the Nazis were successfully hunting within sight of American beaches. Today, the memory of 1942 is lopsided. The Battle of Los Angeles became a staple of pop culture and science fiction, while the deadly U-boat campaign in the Gulf is often relegated to a footnote in local history. The Office of Censorship achieved its goal of preventing immediate panic, but in doing so, it effectively stripped a major strategic failure from the public record. Because the casualties were hidden from the morning papers, the reality of the war in the Gulf never took root in the national consciousness. It shows that what we remember isn't always dictated by the actual level of danger. The psychological impact of the news, whether it's the loud, visible drama of an air raid or the enforced silence of a naval slaughter, completely defines our historical reality. The story of these two coasts is a demonstration of how we process fear. In 1942, a terrified nation spent its energy swinging between two extremes: a total hysteria over imaginary threats and a total denial of the very real ones.